Well, Labor's decision to relax biosecurity restrictions on US beef being imported to Australia has renewed fears of herd animal diseases that could decimate the industry. Many in our beef supply chain believe sacrificing our biosecurity for continued access to the American market is not worth the risk.
At Roxburgh Feedlot on Queensland's Western Downs, cattle from across the country come for a few weeks of final fattening fodder. Their health on arrival and when heading on to the meatworks is ensured by Australia's strong biosecurity.
We can move freely within our, area, state, country because we have such good biosecurity. So to compromise that would come at enormous cost.
Australia's biosecurity could be compromised, stakeholders in the beef industry say, by the Albanese government's apparent attempt to appease America.
They won't take any of our beef. They don't want it because they don't want it to affect their farmers. And you know what? I don't blame them, but we're doing the same thing.
As Donald Trump's tariffs on Australian beef loom, the federal government has lifted a ban on US beef coming into Australia.
This decision has been purely based on science and a rigorous assessment by my department.
We're concerned as a government about the lack of transparency around this decision.
Produce from Canada and Mexico is processed in the US, and there lies the risk to Australia of potentially industry-crippling disease, such as foot and mouth.
Oh, well, if you saw what happened in England back in the early 2000s, I mean, it's extremely deadly.
When these big global companies are sourcing product from all over the world and bringing it in, you don't really know where it's coming from. And I think it's a Herculean task for someone to get on top of that.
John Knights is a beef producer from St George in southwest Queensland. He says there could be a risk from the moment foreign product is taken from supermarket shelves.
Well, it's just human contact and waste. It goes on. It's just, you're not going to know when you cook it or whatever else. It goes out and they feed a bit of meat to the pet dog or whatever. Who knows how it's going to spread, but it spreads.
It spreads through footwear, through movement of people, which spreads to movement of vehicles, animals, pets, wildlife, and all of a sudden, we've got a mass outbreak that's impossible to stop.
For the threat US beef imports would pose to Australia's biosecurity, there's deep concern. For the threat they'd pose in the Australian consumer market, there's not so much.
I think the impact of imported beef into Australia will be quite minimal because of the volume that would come in. Commercially, American beef coming into Australia will be uncompetitive in terms of price.
Simon Gleeson oversees the Droughtmaster cattle breed in Australia.
The general consensus of producers that I speak to or people in the industry is that the American beef will end up in American-owned restaurants or hotels within Australia. But obviously we've got to get the biosecurity right for that beef coming into Australia.
To many in the industry, not even a meeting between Donald Trump and Anthony Albanese would be worth the potential for a devastating disease outbreak. And Australian beef as a premium quality product should be upheld.
If they can bring beef in, perhaps of lesser quality, with lower control systems that we have in Australia, then our beef as an entire commodity domestically is devalued.
We have the highest standards of beef in the world, and so relaxing those biosecurity rules for imports is a real concern for Australian agriculture.
In Queensland, Harry Clark, Sky News.